Hello students, good morning and welcome to today's class. We will be looking at question paper solving 2B, and this is mathematics part 2. So these are the chapters for maths paper 2: quadrilateral, circle, coordinate geometry, trigonometry, surface area and volume. Alright, so let's begin with the questions. This is the first question. This is a question from surface area and volume chapter. The volume of a cone is 6,280 centimeter cube and its base area is 20 centimeter. Find its perpendicular height. Now, to find this or to solve this problem, you need the formula, right? So, as I said in the last class, that you need to draw a table where you can see all the formulas in one go. So here you can see all the formulas, that is from cube, cuboid, cylinder, cone, sphere, hemisphere, everything is there with volume, total surface area and curved surface area. All the formulas are covered. All right. So which formula do we need here? For this question, which formula do we need? Just check. Just a minute. Yeah. So it says volume of the cone is given. So we need the formula for cone and the volume. So it's volume of the cone, that is 1/3 pi r square h. This is the formula that we are using here. So you start always with writing what is given. So we are given that volume equals to 6,280 centimeter cube. Then the base radius, that is r, which is given as 20 centimeter. And to find, we are asked to find here height, the perpendicular height, that is capital, that is h. All right. And then let's start with the solution. So we start writing the formula first. So what is the formula? It's volume equals to 1/3 pi r square h. Now just substitute all the values that you know. So we know volume is 6,280, which is equals to 1/3. The value of pi will be mentioned. For this case, we will be taking 3.14. Okay, times radius square r squared. That means we multiply 20 with itself. 20 times 20 times the height. We keep h as it is. We have to find h, right? Now, to do the solution part, just look at the steps. Again, we can solve this problem very easily. Okay, students, it can be solved very easily. So just check. Always start with getting rid of the decimal point. So here we see the decimal point. This can be written as 6,280 equals to 1/3. So 3.14 is same as 314 divided by 100, right? How did we get that 100? So after decimal point, there are two digits. So remove the decimal point and place two zeros, that is 100 in the denominator, times 20 times 20 times the height, correct? So 0, 0, 0, 0 gets crossed out and we are left with uh, 1/3 times 314 times 2 times 2 is 4 times the height. Okay. Now we are asked to find height. So shift all the numbers to the other side, correct? Now 3 here is in division. Any number in the denominator is in division. It moves to other side, that would be multiplication, correct? So the 3 over here will be in the numerator. So that has to be 6,280 times 3 over. Now 314 and 4 are in the top, that is they are in the numerator. They will shift to the denominator. So that would be 314 times 4. Okay, we don't write this one, and this is equals to the height. Okay, now you just need to simplify this part. Simple simplification. Okay, just check. Twice of 314 is equals to 628. So we are just using simple tables. Times 1, this is times 2, and that is 20. Okay, and then further we can cross it out as 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 5 is 20. So we are left with height equals to 5 times 3, which is equals to 15. That gives us the height, which is 15 centimeter. Okay. This completes the solution. We are asked to find the perpendicular height. Here we got the height equals to 15 centimeters. Okay, so just make sure you write it in a proper format and highlight the answers. Okay, that's a very good habit actually. We move to next question. Here, again, this is a question from surface area and volume. The total surface area of a box of a cuboid is 500 square units. So we are given the total surface area of a box. That's a cuboid, right? That's a cuboid. And the total surface area is 500 square units. We are given the breadth and the height, okay, and what is the length. So we are asked to find the length. Again, we are going to refer the table, correct? You should memorize this table. And here, which formula do we use? Total surface area of a cuboid. And where is that formula? Are you able to see it, students? Just check. That's a cuboid. And in the cuboid, the formula for total surface area, twice of LB plus BH plus HL, right? We start with writing out what is given. So given total surface area of cuboid, that is equals to 500 square units, and then the breadth is given, that is equals to 6 units, and then height is given, that is equals to 5 units, right? And to find, what are we asked to find? That is length, L equals to question mark. And we start with the solution, that is use the formula. So TSA, total surface area of the cuboid, that is twice of LB plus BH plus HL, right? And now just substitute the values. What is the TSA, total surface area? That is 500 equals to 2 times LB. We keep L as it is. Okay. Substitute B. So this will be L times, L times B. What is B? That's 6 plus B times H. B is 6 times height is 5 plus H times L. H is 5 times L. We write it as it is because we have to find it, right? Now, look at the next step. We have to bring L by itself. So get rid of this 2. 2 is in multiplication over here. It would move to that side. That will become division, correct? So 500 divided by 2 equals to, now simplify this part. 6 times L is 6L plus 6 times 5 is 30 plus 5L as it is, correct? And then simplify further. So 500 divided by 2, that would be 250 equals to, we can add the like terms. These two are like terms. Like terms are the terms with same variable and exponents, correct? So 6L plus 5L, that will give us 11L plus 30. Okay. And now simplify further. So let's get rid of, what would you get rid of? 30. So plus 30 moves to that side, it will become minus 30. 250 minus 30 equals to 11L. This will be 220 equals to 11L, correct? And we get rid of L next, we get rid of 11 next. 11 over here is in multiplication, that would divide. So 220 divided by 11 equals to L. That gives us L equals to how much, students? 11 times 1 is 11, 11 times 2 is 22, that is 20. And of course, we have to write the unit, correct? Here you can check what is the unit. It's units, so that's the unit. Length equals to 20 units. Okay, very simple. You just need to know the formulas, substitute the values, and simple calculations, right? Let's move to question number 3. Now, this is a very nice question from trigonometry. Okay, find the values of. You will be given such questions and you just need to know the table again. So here I have the table which is from the textbook, correct? And you just need to substitute the values. So just simple substitution. 4 upon 5, tan of 60, and there's a square on it. So it is actually a square on this. Okay, so tan of 60, we will substitute the value, square we place on the parenthesis on the bracket, plus 3 times sine square 60. So it will be sine of 60 and a square on top like that. Just substitute the values. Let's check what is tan of 60. So tan of 60, that's root of 3, correct? So we place root 3 over here. And what is sine of 60? So sine of 60, that's root 3 upon 2. So we place root 3 upon 2 over here. All right. And now let's do the solving part, correct? So calculations, be very careful with the calculation, students. 4 times 5, always start with the brackets first, right? So as the Bodmer's rule says, that always start with brackets first. So here it's root 3 squared. What is root 3 squared? That is root 3 times root 3, correct? Which is equals to root of 9, that is 3. A simple way of doing this, square root and the square, it always gets crossed out. So in simple words, square root and square will get crossed out. We are left with just 3 times 3 plus 3 times plus 3 times square of this bracket, correct? So square of root 3 upon 2, we have to square it. So this is like we have to apply square to both numerator and the denominator. So this will be square of root 3 upon 2 square. Remember, this is very important step. It is complete square, so you have to square both numerator and denominator. Again, just check square and the root will get crossed out. We are left with 3 on top and 2 square. Square of 2, that is 4. So here we are left with 3 upon 4. All right. What will be the next step? To multiply, correct? Bodmer's rule. Next is multiplication and then we add. So multiplication, multiplying these two parts, that is 4 upon 3 times 3 upon 1. How do we multiply fractions? Numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator. So this will be 4 times 3, that is 12, upon 5 times 1, that is 5, correct? Plus, this will be 3 upon 1. Again, multiplying numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator. That will be 3 times 3 is 9, upon 4 times 1 is 4, correct? So we are done with multiplication. Now we have to add these two fractions. And remember one more thing, when we have to add fractions, the denominator should be same. Now in this case, we don't see the denominators are same. So what are we going to do? Either cross multiply or use the LCM method to get the denominators same. Let's cross multiply, okay? So that will be 12 times 4, right? Cross multiply like this, plus 5 times 9 upon 5 times 4, right? Let's write it out properly so that you guys understand it. Just check 12 times 4. So it will be 12 times 4 plus 5 times 9 like that. The whole upon product of the denominators, that is 5 times 4. Easy. And then you just simplify it. Let me remove this part. So it will be 12 times 4, which is equals to 48, plus 5 times 9, which is 45, divided by 5 times 4, that is 20, correct? Now simplify this numerator. That will be how much? 48 plus 45, that will be 93 upon 20. This is the answer. Yes. So what we did, we started with being very careful with this square because there are two squares over there, not to miss that, and just substitute the values. You need to memorize this table, okay students, and just substitute the values and simplify the simple calculations. Follow the Bodmer's rule, important, follow the Bodmer's rule. Okay, and when you are multiplying the fractions, numerator times numerator upon denominator times denominator, but when we are adding the fractions, The denominators need to be same. That's why we are using cross multiplication method. All right. So with that, we move to next question. Question number 4. Even though you look see that this looks like an activity, but I have taken it intentionally because this can be asked in a different format. Like if sine theta equals to cos theta, then find what is theta. Okay, a question can be asked like this. So how do we approach to this question? Just check. You need to remember few basic formulas. That is sine theta upon cos theta. What is that? That is equals to tan theta. And then we know what is tan of 45. Tan of 45 is equals to 1. We are going to use these two simple formulas to solve this. Okay. Now just check. Sine theta equals to cos theta. We have to find theta. That's why we are going to use this tan of 45, which is equals to 1. All right. So just check, students, what we are doing. We have started with writing up sine theta equals to cos theta, and then we are dividing both the sides by cos of theta. So dividing by cos theta upon cos theta, clearly cos theta gets crossed out, and we are left with this 1. Sine theta upon cos theta is Sine theta upon cos theta is tan theta. So place tan theta over here. Why? Because just check this formula. This is the formula. Sine theta upon cos theta is tan of theta, correct? And then what angle of tan is equal to 1? From the table of trigonometric ratios, tan of which angle is equal to 1? So tan of 45 equals to 1. All right. And therefore we get the angle. What is that angle? That's 45 degrees. All right. So this was a very simple question. You just need to remember this important step, dividing both the sides by cos theta, so that we get 1 on the right hand side and tan on the left hand side, and we know tan of 45 is equal to 1. Okay. Let's move to next question. This is a question from coordinate geometry. All right. A very nice question, chapter which is continued in class 10th also. Now, how many lines are there which are parallel to the x-axis and having a distance 5 units? Write their equations. Okay, let us understand this first by looking at the graph. So here I have a graph over here. Just a minute. Okay. And what is the question? The question is, how many lines are there which are parallel to the x-axis? Now, what do you mean by parallel to x-axis? So first thing, where is the x-axis? The horizontal one is the x-axis, and the vertical line, this is the y-axis. Okay. So we want a line which is parallel to the x-axis. How will those lines look like? Parallel to x-axis, that means a line something like this. These are all the lines which are parallel to x-axis. We can draw lines above and lines below the x-axis also. Now there are so many parallel lines. There can be infinite parallel lines which are parallel to x-axis. Okay, but specifically they have mentioned here, just specifically they have mentioned they want a line which is parallel to x-axis and at a distance of 5 units. So from the x-axis at a distance of 5 units, 5 units on top and 5 units on bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. They want a line which is at a distance of 5 units from the x-axis. So on the top you can draw a line like this, which is 5 units distance. Okay, so from 0 to 5, that is 5 units distance. Likewise from 0 to -5, again just check distance. Distance is always positive, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Over here we get this point, correct? -5. So we can draw a line like this. So these two lines, they are parallel to x-axis and they are at a distance of 5 units from the x-axis. All right. Now we are asked to write their equations. Write their equations. What are the equations? What is the general form of these equations? this equation of this parallel line, it is passing through which point? It is passing through y equals to 5. So that is the equation. Y equals to 5 is the equation of this line, and this line is passing through the point y equals to minus 5. So y equals to minus 5 is the equation of this line. Okay, easy. There is no need to draw this diagram. It is just for your understanding that I have used the paper over here, but it is complete visualization and mental math work. You are not supposed to graph it or draw it. Okay, it is just for your understanding. So first thing you should write that the equation of line parallel to x-axis, the standard equations is of the form, what is the form? Is of form y equals to b. Okay, the standard form is y equals to b. B can be any number, but specifically here they have mentioned 5 units. So b is actually the distance from x-axis. Okay, very simple. So whenever they say a line which is parallel to x-axis and it is at a distance of 8, so b will be 8. If they say the distance is 10, then b will be 10. Okay, so it is of the form y equals to b, and it will take up both the values positive and negative. Therefore here we have got the lines which are parallel to x-axis with a distance of 5 units, that is equals to y equals to 5 and y equals to negative 5. These are the two lines which are parallel to x-axis and at a distance of 5 units. I hope this is very clear. Okay. Now, just some extra knowledge here, some extra knowledge. Like if the question is, we want a line which is parallel to y-axis. So lines which are parallel to y-axis, how do they look? Lines parallel to y-axis. They will be of the form, they are of the form x equals to a. Why a? You can use any alphabet here. It's not like that. X equals to a. So if you are given, so if the question is, what are the equation of two lines which are parallel to y-axis and at a distance of 2 units? So that will be x equals to 2 and x equals to minus 2. Just remember this point. Line which are parallel to y-axis, they are of the form x equals to a, where a will be the distance from the y-axis. Okay, with that we will move to next question. So this is another question from coordinate geometry. Okay, here they have asked us in which quadrant do the following points lie. Now this is again complete imagination work, and you need to be very thorough with this format, with the quadrants, right? Just a quick recap. Quadrant 1 has both the points positive. Quadrant 2, so it's like anti-clockwise, 1, 2, 3 and 4. In the second quadrant it's negative positive, in third it's both are negative, fourth positive negative. Now look at the first question. Whose In which quadrant does a point lie whose both coordinates are positive? Both the coordinates are positive. Which is that? That is quadrant 1. So answer to this is quadrant 1. In which quadrant do the points lie whose both coordinates are negative? Both of them are negative. Very good. Everybody knows the answer now. The answer is quadrant 3. Why so? Because both are negative here. Next, in which quadrants do the points lie whose x coordinate is positive, and the y is negative? So it is of the form positive comma negative. I see people raising hand. I know you have all the answers already, answers to this question specifically. Okay, so let me complete it. Positive and a negative. So positive and a negative, that's quadrant 4. Okay, you need to mention it completely, quadrant in words and then 4. Here, next question. In which quadrant do the points lie whose x coordinate is negative and y is positive? So negative comma positive format, that is quadrant 2. Easy. So these type of questions are asked on simple chapters like coordinate geometry. Very simple questions are asked. You just need to be thorough with this part, like where it is positive, where it is negative. Okay. We move to next question. Now, this is a very nice question and important question, a very important question from the chapter circle. Radius of a circle is given over here to be 34 centimeter and the distance of the chord from the center is 30 centimeters. We are asked to find the length of the chord. Okay. Now, even if you don't know the chapter, what is there in circle? Okay. Just looking at the diagram, you should be able to solve it. Just look at the diagram. That's a triangle. That's a right angled triangle, correct? And whenever we have a right angled triangle with two sides already given, we can find the third side by using which theorem, students? Which is that theorem? Yes, it's Pythagoras theorem. So using the Pythagoras theorem, we can find the third side. Let's solve it. So here we are going to start straight with the solution, or of course we can write given and to find. That is a very good habit actually. So what is given? We are given that the radius, which is equals to OA, that is equals to 34 centimeter. Then we are given the distance, perpendicular distance, that is the height in this case, um, of the center O to that chord AB, that is OM, which is equals to 30 centimeter. And what are we asked to find? So to find, we are asked to find AB. What is the length of the chord? We are asked to find what is length of AB. Okay, we start with solution. How do we begin? We have to first state um, the name of triangle, right? But before that, we need to uh, tell that it's perpendicular, correct? So see, remember this thing, even if it in the question you can't see it, where is the word perpendicular? See, distance of the chord from the center. This distance is always perpendicular. Okay, so mention that first, that segment OM is perpendicular to the chord AB. Okay, therefore that angle is 90 degree. Therefore, angle OMB is 90 degree, correct? And then we can mention in triangle, what is the name of triangle? That's OAN. In triangle OAM, angle M is equals to 90 degree. Therefore, by which theorem? By Pythagoras theorem. I hope all of you are solving it with me. Okay, by Pythagoras theorem, what can we say? OA squared equals to OM squared plus AM squared. Remember one thing, the hypotenuse should always be on one side. So hypotenuse, that is opposite to 90 degree, OA. So OA squared is equals to OM squared plus AM squared. Adding the sides and hypotenuse on the other side. Okay. Now substitute the values. So OA is 34 squared equals to OM, that is 30 squared, plus AM as it is AM squared. Okay. And now squaring the numbers, the simple calculation, what do we get? Square of 34, that is 1156. Just a minute, let me write it out again. Equals to 30 squared, that is 900, plus AM squared. All right, and then we move this 900 to the other side. That will be subtraction, correct? So yes, 1156 minus 900 equals to AM squared, right, students? Subtracting, what do we get? Subtracting, we get, that would be 256, which is equals to AM squared. Now we have to get rid of this square, so that will be Opposite of square is square root. So we get am equals to square root of 256, correct? So that will be am equals to, what is square root of 256, students? That is 16. So unit am equals to 16 centimeter. Okay, now for those who are not the squares are not by heart, for them, how do you find the square root? 256, prime factorize it, go with the table of 2, right? Or go with the table of 4, whatever is convenient to you. So 4 times 6 is 24, 4 4s are 16. Okay, like that you can just prime factorize. This is not prime factorization because I'm using 4, right? You can start this working it out with 2. Okay, and then we group numbers in pairs of 2, correct? And we write it once. So this gives us 4 times 4, which is equals to 16. Now so far we have got am, but look at what are we asked to find. We are asked to find ab. What is ab? Yes, students. So remember the property. What is the property? The property is perpendicular from the center, perpendicular from the center bisects the chord, right? What is the meaning of this? Any perpendicular from the center, it will bisect the chord. It means it will break the chord into two equal parts. That means am will be equal to mb, correct? Now we have got am equals to 16. That means am is 16 and mb is also 16, correct? And we are asked to find what is length of AB. So length of AB will be length of AM plus MB, correct? So that will be AM plus the length of MB. That will be 16 plus 16. And yes, the answer is 32. And never forget to put the units, correct? And highlight your answer. So in this case, it is 32 centimeters. Okay, students. So the solution was in two steps. The first step is to use the Pythagoras theorem. The first step was to use the Pythagoras theorem, and second is to use this property. Sorry. Yeah. So second is using this property, perpendicular from the center bisects the chord. Okay. So using these two steps, we get the solution to this problem. This was a very important question. We move to next question now. Yeah. So the radius of the circumcircle of an equilateral triangle is 8.2 centimeter. Find the radius of its incircle. This is a very simple question with just two steps. Okay. But look at the question once again carefully. Radius of circumcircle is given, that is 8.2 centimeter, and we are asked what is the radius of its incircle. Okay, so remember the property. What is the property? Let me put it for you on the board, just a minute. The property is that ratio of the radius of circumcircle to incircle is 2 is to 1. Okay, so you need to remember this property. Here I'm going to add it on the board quickly. Just check. We start with this. Let the radius of the circumcircle of an equilateral triangle be R1, and this is a solution actually. Yeah, solution. So let the radius of circumcircle of the equilateral triangle be R1 and that of the incircle be R2. Okay, so we start with that. Labeling or setting up the variables R1 and R2, and then remember the rule. For an equilateral triangle, the ratio of radius of circumcircle to the radius of incircle, that is equals to 2 upon 1. Okay, this is the property you need to remember. And now just substitute the values. What is the radius of circumcircle? It is R1. It is given to be 8.2. So substitute the values. 8.2 upon R2 is equals to 2 upon 1. Correct? And now we have to find R2. How can we find that? Simply we can do reciprocal of both the sides or do cross multiplication. Now this is up to you. Okay, if you cross multiply, it will be 8 times 8.2 times 1, which is equals to 2 times r2, correct? And 8.2 times 1 is 8.2, which is equals to 2 times r2. Shift to the other side, it is in multiplication, that would divide. So 8.2 divided by 2 is r2, and we get r2 equals to what? 4.1. And what is the unit, students? Unit, look at the question, it says centimeter, so that's the unit. I hope this is very clear. You need to remember the property. This is specifically for equilateral triangle. The ratio of radius of circumcircle to the radius of incircle is equals to 2 upon 1. Okay, that's the property we use. Substitute the values and simple calculations will give you the answer. All right. With that, we move to next question. Okay, another nice question from which is this chapter? This is chapter quadrilaterals. Okay. In quadrilateral IJKL, side IJ is parallel to KL. So we are given IJ is parallel to KL. Angle I equals to 108 degrees and K equals to 53 degrees. Then find the measures of angle J and angle L. Okay. So start with writing out what is given. A very good habit, correct? So angle I, before that we are given that the sides are parallel. So we are given that IJ is parallel to KL. Angle I equals to 108 degrees. Angle K equals to 53 degrees. What are we asked to find? We are asked to find angle J and angle L. Okay. And then we write the solution. So how do we proceed with the solution? L and J and L. Let's find J first. Okay. It is the same property we use to find both the angles. All right. So just concentrate here. Um, those two sides are parallel. IJ is parallel to LK. So we look at the formation. You can clearly see there is C formation. What does C formation mean? Interior angles. Sum of interior angles is 180 degree, right? C formation. When there are parallel lines, which are the formations we can see whenever the lines are parallel? The Yeah, for parallel lines, which formations we can see? F formations, that is corresponding angles are equal. Z formations, that is alternate angles, they are equal. And C formations, which is interior angles, where the sum of angles is 180 degree. In this case, we can see that it is C formation, right? So I'll just keep this uh, highlighted so that you can remember. Okay. And how do we write the steps? So we start with writing uh, that the sides are parallel, right? So side IJ is parallel to side KL. Okay. Therefore, angle J plus angle K, that should be equal to 180 degree. What is the reason? Always remember to mention the reason. So what is the reason here? It is interior angles. Interior angles. The sum of interior angles is always 180. The C formation, sum is 180. Z formation, they are equal. F formation, they are also equal. Okay. And just substitute the values now. We don't know J, so keep it as it is. K is 53 equals to 180. And now just simplify. So angle J equals to 180 minus 53. What do we get, students? Quickly do the calculations. So angle J equals to how much? That will be 127 degrees. Okay, and just highlight it. Next part, we look at how to find L. So again, look at the diagram carefully. These two lines are parallels. I am highlighting the parallel lines first, and now I am just joining these two parts. Why? Because I need to find L. So which is this formation? Again C formation. That means interior angles, correct? So we write out the step. Angle I plus angle L is equals to how much? 180 degrees. What is the reason? That is interior angles. Sum of interior angles is 180 degrees. Now substitute the values. Angle I is 108 degrees plus angle L as it is equals to 180 degrees. Yeah, I forgot to put degree sign over here. Very important thing. Angle L equals to 180 degrees minus 108 degree, and that will be equal to how much? Yes, that will be 72 degrees. So therefore we have got angle L that is equals to 72 degrees. Okay, wasn't that a simple question? Just remember the formations. Whenever two lines are parallel, there are these three type of formations, and in this case we have used C formation, that is interior angles. Sum of interior angles is always 180 degrees. Okay, and that I think we should move to next question. Again a question from quadrilaterals. Yes, adjacent sides of a rectangle are 7 centimeter and 24 centimeter. Find the length of its diagonal. So for this question, we need to draw the diagram. Very important. If you don't draw the diagram, how would you write these steps, isn't it? So you need to start with drawing a diagram and labeling it. Okay. So here I am going to place an image straight. So we start with the solution like this. You need to draw a diagram, that is draw a rectangle, label it A, B, C, D. Okay. Adjacent sides. What do you mean by adjacent sides? The neighboring sides. Okay. One is adjacent sides, other is opposite sides. Opposite sides, they are facing each other. Okay. And these are adjacent sides next to each other. And then we are asked to find the diagonal. Diagonal in this case is AC. So what are we given? We are given that, okay, we are given that AB is equals to 7 centimeters, BC is equals to 24 centimeters, and what are we asked to find? We are asked to find what is AC. The diagonal is AC in this case, AC. Okay, how do we begin? Clearly, I know you can see it is, what is it? It is the right angle triangle, isn't it? So right angle triangle and two sides are given. We can find the missing side by using which property, students? It is Pythagoras theorem, right? So we begin with saying in triangle ABC, angle B is equals to 90 degree. That is, what is the reason? All angles of rectangle equal to 90 degree, right? This is a property of rectangle. We are using the property of rectangle, that angle B is 90 degree. Therefore, by which theorem? By Pythagoras theorem. Don't forget to put the reasons. By Pythagoras theorem, what can we say? Hypotenuse square is equals to side square plus side square, correct? Which, what is the hypotenuse in this case? Opposite to 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees, so AC is the hypotenuse, right? So AC square equals to AB squared plus BC squared. Now just substitute the values. What is AC? AC is 20, AC we don't know, so keep it as it is. AB squared, that is 7 squared, plus BC squared, that is 24 squared, correct? And now what is 7 squared? That's 49, plus 24 squared. What is the square of 24? Yes, students, square of 24 is 576. So for this chapter, for quadrilaterals, at least till 30 or till 25, you should remember the squares, correct? So we can use the square roots also easily. And then adding it up, what do we get? The sum is 625, right? So AC squared is equals to 625. Now we want just AC. We want AC. So get rid of the square. How do we get rid of the square? By opposite, that is square root, correct? Opposite of square is square root. So taking square root on the other side, root of 625, that is equals to how much? That is 25. And the unit, that is centimeters. So here we have got diagonal of the rectangle, that is equals to 25 centimeters. All right, that's how we put up the solution. I hope this is very clear. Okay, so remember to draw the diagram, label it, okay, so that you can see which property goes where. Remember to put the reasons, like here it is the Pythagoras theorem, and also you need to mention how did you get the 90-degree there. It is the property of a rectangle. All angles of a rectangle equals to 90 degrees. Okay, and then let's look at another question. Okay, so this is a question from trigonometry. Question number 11. Two more questions. Just concentrate, students. This one you can try on your own, right? Find the value of 2 tan 45 plus cos 630 minus sine of 60. We have to use the table, correct? So you need to memorize this table. Once again, I'll repeat important things: tables, the formulas, and the properties. Okay, so do make sure that you're making charts and revising them daily. Okay, so how do we begin? Twice of tan 45 plus cos of 30 minus sine of 60. Just replace the values. Tan of 45 is 1. Cos of 30 is root 3 upon 2 minus sine of 60, that is root 3 upon 2. Okay, we are just substituting the values. Okay, this is root 3 upon 2 and this is also root 3 upon 2. Just check, plus root 3 upon 2 minus root 3 upon 2 gets crossed out. What are we left with? We are left with 2 times 1, that is equal to 2. Very easy, correct? We move to next question now. Okay, again this is a simple question where you need to use the table. You need to memorize this, right? Or you can also derive it. The derivation is also easy, isn't it? So cos of 60, what is cos of 60? That's half times cos of 30, that's root 3 upon 2, plus sine of 60, that's root 3 upon 2, times sine of 30, that's half. Okay, now remember the Bodmer's rule, very important. Bodmer's rule means first we have to multiply and then add. So first we are going to simplify the multiplication, correct? Numerator times, yeah, numerator times numerator and denominator times denominator. So 1 times root 3, that is root 3 upon 2 times 2, that is 4, plus here again root 3 times 1 is root 3 upon 2 times 2, that is 4. And then we are adding the fractions. When adding fractions, we need the denominators same. Luckily here we see the denominators are already same, so just add the numerators. So root 3 plus root 3 upon 4, right? And how do we add these roots? It is, we add the numbers outside the roots, right? It's 1 in both the case. So 1 plus 1, that's 2. 2 root of 3 upon 4, and now you simplify. 2 times 2 is 4. So we are left with root 3 upon 2. That is the answer. Okay, simplify to the lowest form. Okay, so fractions, you're dealing with fractions, multiplication of fractions, adding of fractions, and then finally bringing down the fraction to lowest form. Okay, that completes this solution. Yes, and that's all for today. I hope you all enjoyed the class and have understood everything, right? The importance of charts and the formulas, the properties. Make sure that you have the mind maps ready before we go to the next part, that is On Monday, we will be doing Maths 1, question number 2B. So make sure that you have the mind maps, the charts, the formulas, properties ready with you all. Okay, that's all for today. And thank you everyone for joining.